Monday. I am super excited for this message. So, today we are going to be talking about our resilience recipe. So, really starting with what it is that is the foundation of all that we do, so that when times get tough, when we're thrown for a loop, when life happens, we are set up for success. All right. So maybe you're in a season of change right now, or maybe you're struggling a little bit right now. If anything, this is more time to pay attention to your health than ever before. And so many times people wait till there's an illness or an injury or an emergency to start paying attention to their health and their fitness and determining what their set of non-negotiables are and what their resilience recipe is for when life gets thrown at us. So this is what I love to help people do, is set up their standard for their life. So I'd love to hear in the comments, in the chat, if you're here catching this live, make sure you're shouting yourself out. And if you're on replay, please send me a message. Share in the comments. I'd love to hear what is coming up for you. What is your resilience recipe? And what is your default setting when things go wrong? I'll tell you, so many times in my life, I have gotten knocked down, but I had to get back up again. So resilience at its like ground roots level of a basic definition is the ability to bounce back. So resilience is not about staying down. It's not about staying stuck. It's about bouncing back. It's about getting back up. And so when we think about what we're going towards, like the bigger mission that we have, maybe for our fitness or our business or our family or the legacy or the leadership that we're implementing each and every day, there's a big mission out there, right? And so a lot of times we lose sight of the little things that we're doing, and we can get stuck in life. We can get stuck in the hard things. And I'll tell you, anything that you're going towards, I hate to say misery loves company, or that it's supposed to be hard. I think there's a fine balance between recognizing, okay, we're going towards something. It's not going to be easy, because any one of our leaders that came before us, our mentors, our role models in our life, they went through hard things to get to where they're at. So it's no surprise that that's going to be like that for you too. So, and just as much, literally, I've seen it a million times, just before you get to level up, just before that point, you're going to be challenged. You're going to be tested. Something is going to get thrown at you. I promise you, it happens every single time. It is not sunshines, rainbows, and butterflies every day. So I've been through a lot of health struggles, a lot of challenges in business, in my fitness, in my health journey. I've moved 4 times in 6 years. And I'll tell you, I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And it's a cycle. And so the more that you can embrace the cycle, in the military, we say embrace the suck. But if you embrace the cycle and recognize that life is a journey, it's going to have ups and downs, there's going to be challenges, you are ready for it. So recognizing what that resilience recipe is for you. So setting your standards and what I like to call non-negotiables. And this could be a trigger word for some people. In fact, I've heard some of this recently, is that when you say non-negotiables, it means that I have to live a certain way like you do. No, it's your non-negotiables is the standard that you set for yourself. And in the absence of nothing, you might as well look at people that have done the dang things, that are doing things that you and going where you want to go. So study them, just like I did. I studied the elite athletes, the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, to determine what are the high performance habits. What are the things that they're doing every single day? What are their standards for their life? What are their non-negotiables? And how can I do more of that and implement that into my life, into my business, into my fitness routine, into my daily routine? And that has helped elevate me even more. Now I'm constantly being challenged, but now that I've developed this system and this routine and this set standard of non-negotiables for myself and my health and my fitness and my business, it's my default setting. So there's no control alt delete do-overs in life. There's no like looking down, there's no looking back. I ran the Boston Marathon, and I run 26 marathons in a 50-mile race. And they were challenging. Every single race, every single step was a challenge. And I was fought every single step of the way. But if I looked back for one split second, or I looked down, or I wasn't scanning or paying attention, I could trip. I could trip on a route. I could trip on a sidewalk. I could trip in a pothole if I'm not paying attention on the next mile marker, the bigger vision. So where in life are you feeling like you're looking down or looking back or doubting yourself? So we need to set this, so when life, so say for instance, you do trip and fall. What happens? What are you going to do? How are you going to get back up? So this is your resilience recipe that I've developed over time. And so if you don't have a resilience recipe, I'd love for you to maybe adopt some of these or make your own. So you have your own standard for your life, for when life gets thrown at you, or when you trip and fall on the sidewalk and you got bloody knees and you feel like you can't walk. I've been there. But how do you get back up and how do you bounce back? There was a time where I literally was so I was in such a negative headspace. I went out for a run once, and I'll share this story with you. I went out for a run once, and it was in Pittsburgh, and I ran over this bridge. It's the city of bridges, go figure. So I ran over this bridge, and I was really feeling sorry for myself. I was in the dumps, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go out for a run. And my head was down. And I was just like, oh, I was inside beating myself up. I was like, man, all right, I'm just out here. I am just feeling sorry for myself. And I actually tripped on the sidewalk, and it was like really rough space of the sidewalk that was just like really open. And of course, that one space, it wasn't a pretty like neat sidewalk. It was open and like raw and pebbles. And of course, that's where I decided to trip, not on purpose, but that's, of course, it was a lesson for me. But I sat there in shock, first of all. And the first thing I did was like, oh my gosh, life flashed before my eyes. I'm never going to be able to walk again. I'm never going to be able to run again. I'm in a rough spot at town. How am I going to get home? I'm not going to be able to walk. Who am I going to call? What is my system? What is my default when this happens? Everything flashes. So I looked down. I was in a negative headspace, and of course, I was like, I don't even know the word, like scooching my feet. I wasn't picking my feet up. I wasn't being intentional with the daily steps and the things that I was doing, and being really intentional with my core posture. And I had my head down, and for a split second that I just shuffled my feet, and the lip caught me, and I went down. And both of my knees were just ripped up, blood everywhere. And in those moments, I was like, oh, no wonder why I didn't pick up my feet, right? But it was me. Like I can say, oh, poor me, like everything. No, I did not pick up my feet. I did not have my head picked up. I didn't have my core tight. Thankfully, when I fell, I have enough core strength and arm strength to be able, I didn't break anything. I didn't hurt myself. My ego was hurt. Of course, my knees were hurt. I called my husband. That was my default. And he's like, I tried to walk a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to quit, but I think I need to be picked up. So maybe in this time of life that you're in right now is like, what's your lifeline? What is your go-tos? Do you get back up and try to walk, or do you quit and tap out? Do you get back up and do that next sales call that maybe the last one didn't go right? Do you just quit and shut down your business? No. You keep getting back up, and you're like, all right, let's dust it off. Let's see if we can walk a little bit, and let's get the rhythm back up again. So what are your non-negotiables? What's your default when things go wrong? Is it to sit in the fetal position and not move and not do anything for yourself or your health? Is that a great space to be? Now, there's a process, right, that we have to kind of go through. And so my tips here for you today, number 1, don't freeze. All right? Recognize that this is going to be a journey. Like your non-negotiables, your way, your system and your set of standards for yourself. We can't resist that, because what we resist will persist. All right? So we're going to stay in the space if we're consistently resisting the one thing that's going to help you move you forward. So we want our nervous system. I study the brain and psychology and the brain on trauma and stress and overwhelm. So this is my magic sweet spot because I've been there. All right. So the nervous system, especially when we're in a stressful situation, it wants to fight, flight, or freeze, right? If you freeze and you do nothing, it's not going to move us forward. We're going to stay there. We're going to stay in the same space. So if you were to think about your mentors, your role models, in the face of adversity and when things go wrong, what do they do? And how can you start to implement some of those traits? Because if you look up to them, there's a reason, because they've been through hard things. And so this is what I love to share with my clients and with our community, is a system of getting through the hard things and bouncing back up. But if we freeze, so we can't freeze. And the only reason why we look back in business, in fitness, in life, in relationships, is to gather the wisdom to move forward and to take one step at a time and get back up and just take one step. What you can do right now with what you've got. So develop this system of like, all right, when things get rough, we're going to look back, we're going to collect some data, but we're going to move. We're going to use that to move forward. So that could mean, maybe lessons learned. It can mean collecting feedback from people around you. It could mean like, hey, let's talk through this. What happened? What happened these last couple weeks? And how can we use this as fuel to move you forward? And most importantly, don't look down. We have a mission, we have a vision for our life, and that next mile marker ahead of us, that next milestone for our life, that next milestone for our fitness, the next milestone for your business. So you can't look down, and we can't spend too much time looking back, or else we're going to stay in the same place. So we can't stay in this frozen mode, because the brain wants to keep us safe. It wants to keep us comfortable. It wants to keep us safe and in the same spot. But we have to know that we have to take another step. And it's one step at a time. It's not from 0 to 100 overnight. And so step 1 is really like, don't freeze. Collect the data, look back for wisdom and lessons and feedback to move forward and take one step at a time. And we need to keep our chin up. So I'll tell you, especially in business, I've been in business almost 6 years now, working from home since 2017, building this business, scaling this business. I feel like I get beat down, and there's times where I want to freeze. There's times when I want to throw in the towel. There's times that I want to shut the business down because it's hard. And our nervous system wants to keep us safe and comfortable. But if it were for everyone, just like a marathon, it would be easy. Everyone would do it. But you're different. You're made for more. And you have a vision for your life and the next version of you. So it's your time. We can't stay frozen too long. We can't, it's more about being more comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And I'm not saying it has to be like painful and tragic the whole way, every step of the way. But I'll tell you, there's more rough days than there are good days. And that's where it's important to keep a system of your non-negotiables. So I want you to map this out. So step 2, figure out what is your default. What is the one thing that you can commit to? And so I would highly recommend in each of these areas. So like in Cruise Beyond Limits, in the absence of no system, why not try something that's worked? All right. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. My system is certainly a compilation of a bunch of different systems that I've adopted over time. And I've used them over and over and over again so that I know when life gets thrown at me, because it will, and it'll happen just before I'm about to level up, just before that next big thing. I'm going to get a challenge. Something is going to happen. I guarantee it. And I'm going to be able to implement the system, implement my default setting, be able to downshift and say, this is the standard. This is the non-negotiable. So here's where, if you're taking notes, I want you to think about, what is your standard? What is your default setting when things go wrong? What do you want it to be? So now we got to figure out, what is the normal default and what do you want it to be? All right. Because those might look a little bit different and nobody's perfect. Right. So we got to test this thing out. And the only way to test it is to test it when we're challenged, but create it when we're not challenged. Create it when we're in a space of positivity, of growth, of potential, of vision, of outlook and positive, like you see the finish line, right? So we have to set ourselves up to say like, all right, we know there's going to be obstacles between now and that finish line. We got to keep our chin up. We can't freeze. And what are our non-negotiables? So let's develop a system right now. Why not? Because that way you have a contract with yourself. You have a contract with your nervous system. You have a contract with your health to say, this is my standard for when life gets thrown. What am I going to focus on? All right. First things first, highly recommend nutrition and hydration. Nutrition and hydration. So at least half your body weight in ounces per day. Like set that standard no matter what. I know life gets stressful, overwhelmed, it gets busy, but you deserve to put your body, and your body is a temple. Your body is your vehicle. The body is the only thing that you have. And you have to fuel it properly, or else it's not going to work properly and it's not going to bounce back properly. So why not start with the basics? So at least half your body weight in ounces per day. Focus on the nutrition that fuels you forward, that does not make you have cravings or, give you intestinal issues. Like that just further sends you into the spiral when things aren't going right. If you just put fuel on the fire, oh, well, this is going to make me feel better. That emotional eating our feelings is totally natural. But setting your non-negotiables, setting yourself up for success for when life gets thrown at you is like, all right, I'm not going to go for that. Here's what I'm going to go for. Set up the plan ahead of time. You time block and you manage your time for your business or your families. I think this is a good resilience recipe to time block and block out this structure for yourself. You're worth it. Okay, so number one, your nutrition. What is your nutrition and your hydration? So what are your go-tos going to be? Is it going to be the gallon of ice cream or the drive-through? Or is it going to be foods that are going to fuel you forward, that are going to give you the brain power to make conscious, clear decisions? Oh, and by the way, fuel your body with the proper hydration. So number one, nutrition and hydration. Number two, movement is medicine. All right. So your movement can look like a lot of different things, but you have to get the heart rate up. All right. So it has to be a way that you either do a couple laps around your house, or you go outside for, even if it's 5 minutes, move your body. I highly recommend at least 30 minutes a day. And my workouts are 30 minutes, including warm up and cool down, no equipment necessary. But get your body flowing. It will change the chemicals in your brain that will help you bring more clarity, give you more energy, support your healthy mindset that's going to fuel you forward and help you bounce back quicker. And I'll tell you this happens all the time. I hear this all the time. Crystal, I'm too tired. I am in such deep despair and depression that I can't move my body. And that's the one thing, that's where we're freezing. The one thing that we're resisting is the one thing that's going to unlock the next level version of you. So where you feel that resistance is where we need to check in. I say this with love. So that movement is your medicine, right? So really recognizing like, okay, what can I do? Can I take a walk? Can I do some dumbbells? If maybe you hurt your ankle and you can't walk right now, you can still work your upper body. You can do push-ups on the wall. You can do all kinds of different things from the privacy of your own home. And the question always is, how can I move my body at the level that I'm at with what I've got? Because I know that it's going to fuel me forward, and movement is my medicine. Okay, so this is a component of it, and it's scientifically proven. It changes the chemicals in your brain that helps you think more clearly. It gives you more energy that will help you gain that momentum again, right? So then the third non-negotiable that I highly recommend that you implement into your life is community and connection. Because I'll tell you what, that inner critic and the devil loves an empty schedule, and it loves the loneliness, and it fuels itself. They are like hungry for it. All those negative thoughts, all the flood of emotions, it loves an empty schedule. It loves a lonely bedroom. It loves when no one else is around. So this is important. Set that non-negotiable for yourself. In my community, we have a 48-hour rule. So we don't go more than 48 hours without checking in with our accountability group, with our accountability partners, to be able to say, hey, I'm dealing with something, but here's my check-in. Like, here's where I'm at. This is what's happening. Here's my non-negotiables. I'm implementing. This is what I can do right now with what I've got. And I'm prioritizing what I can do. But it's you first. There's a reason why the airlines have a whole safety briefing on putting your oxygen mask on first. You need to put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's the system. That's the default. Why? How many times? I travel a lot. My bags are always packed. Maybe you travel a lot too, and you're like eye roll at the safety briefing again that we have to hear over and over and over again. Why do you think they do that? That consistent message to drill into your nervous system for when the plane crashes. If it ever does, God forbid it does, but like, we're conditioned with our non-negotiables, our standards, our system for when crisis happens. You put your own oxygen mask on first. This is no different. Life is no different. In fact, it's so much more dangerous out in real life, navigating real life's pressures and stresses, than it is on an airplane. In fact, the airplane is probably the safest place, right? But why do we not take that into our normal daily life? Why can't we put our own oxygen mask on first during normal daily life every single day? But yet we put it on everyone else first. And then we make excuses of why we don't have a set standard for our life. And then we get upset and frustrated and overwhelmed. And then we feel uncomfortable and depressed and lack energy. And then it's a spiral. So I see it all the time. And this is why I'm so passionate. Because for those of you who don't know my story, I spent 6 months in a wheelchair at the young age of 22. In the depths of despair, growing sideways, I could no longer walk. I took endless amounts of medication. I took more medication to offset the ulcers that were burning holes inside my body. And from then, I crawled in extreme pain. And I said, I was burned out. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed out. I was in a trauma response. I could have froze. I could have stayed stuck. I could have still been in that wheelchair. But I said, no, I'm going to get back up. There's got to be another way. So I started advocating for myself and my health and learning about the power of nutrition and hydration and movement and community. This is the system. Without one of those, there's a good chance that resilience recipe is not going to work as quick enough as you need it to. We need you to get back up. I spent 6 months in the wheelchair. Fast forward, I transitioned and I had to use this recipe again. Transitioned from active duty to National Guard part-time in the military. Moved away from everything I knew. Again, I felt an identity loss. I lost myself. And I had to implement these systems again, this recipe of like, all right, am I moving my body? Am I fueling it properly? Am I hydrating? All those answers were no. Oh, by the way, are you getting into community? The answer was no. So what did I do? I started doing the little things, one step at a time, hydrating, good nutrition, moving my body again, getting into community. That unlocked everything. And so this is the recipe. This is what I have adopted, and it works. The work works when you do the work. And then you see the momentum, and it's one step at a time. So I crawled my way out of that wheelchair. And I crawled till I can walk, till I was able to run. And now I run marathons, and I take 0 medication to this day. From this recipe of developing a daily set of non-negotiables and a standard for putting my own oxygen mask on first. So this is my message to you. Don't wait till an illness or an injury or a crisis to happen to start to implement your healthy non-negotiables, your standards for your life. Set up your own safety briefing right now so that when life happens, you don't freeze. Your default setting is put your oxygen mask on first. Then we move, we hydrate, we get good nutrition, we fuel our body, and we put because we know that we're going to have to deal with so much. And everyone else's, I almost spilled my water. Everyone else's emotions, challenges, priorities, the rug is going to get pulled from you. And you have to have some sense of control of yourself and your nervous system and your own health and your own well-being first. You are no good to anybody else if you're lacking your own oxygen as you're trying to pour into everyone else. And I know I'm passionate about this, but because I literally stayed stuck for way too long, I could have stayed the victim, but I got back up and I developed a set of non-negotiables. It's a no matter what mentality. No matter how tired you are, no matter what stressors you're going through, what injury, what illness, you still have to have a set of non-negotiables to put your own oxygen mask on first. And so my mission is to help empower you to figure out your set of non-negotiables, your system, your own safety briefing right here, right now, so that when life gets challenged, you have a set standard for at least 34 minutes a day. Okay, so this 34-minute mindset, I want to break it down for you real quick. 2 minutes of gratitude. There's so much you can be thankful for, even in the crisis, amidst all the chaos. There's so much you can be grateful for. You breathing, you woke up today. Sometimes that's all we need. So how can you have faith and courage and gratitude in the space amidst the chaos, amidst the crisis? So start with gratitude goal setting and say like, okay, what are my non-negotiables for the day? No matter what, I'm going to fuel myself, hydrate, move my body, even if it's 5 minutes. 30 minutes is the goal. You want more than at least 20 or 30 minutes of getting your heart rate up in order to see the true results and the impact on the chemicals of your brain. But 5 minutes, even just 5 minutes, just to walk around to the mailbox and back. That's something. Walking around your house, doing a set of stairs, whatever that is, make movement part of your medicine, no matter what. Okay? So figure what this is so that when it comes time, you're like, all right, time to implement the system. This is what I've been working for, right? I'm ready for it. So we don't freeze. So we're not a victim so we don't stay stuck. This resilience recipe, we have to be able to figure out what works, what doesn't. So it's really important to pay attention for when you have these struggles in life or in business or in your fitness goals, and you have maybe some setbacks or some resistance. These are times where you need to pay attention and say, like, okay, well, what can I do? And how can I test a new skill or a new trait or a new way? Like, hey, that worked before for this person. Let's try that, right? Try not to reinvent the wheel. There's people that have been doing this for years. I can't tell you, especially being an entrepreneur and a speaker and an author. Like, I'm writing my next book right now, and I have an amazing mentor who's also a speaker and a best-selling author, like incredible, that they're just no hero in the story got through it without any bumps and bruises. They made it to where they are because they endured the challenges and they got back up, and they're here to tell the story. So you too have made it through 100% of your story and your pages so far. Turn the page. It's time to write the story and take note of the system, of the safety briefing, of what works for you, and focus on more of what was working and fueling you forward, instead of like, that didn't work, I'm not going to do that. I tried all those. I hear this all the time. I tried that YouTube thing, or I tried that Beachbody program. Online fitness doesn't work for me. I'm like, yeah, what else is working for you? What have you tried? Right? And maybe it's the accountability. Maybe it's the system. It's not the right system. It's not the right non-negotiables. We gotta keep going until we get it right, till we find the system that works. And I always say with my clients, the work works when you do the work. There's an element of you showing up and doing this work. Nothing is going to come to you on a silver platter and say, here's your perfect life, your perfect business, all the clients. Here you go. It's going to be rainbows and butterflies. No. You have to do some work. You have to create the momentum. I'll tell you, every single day, my nervous system wants to keep me comfy. It wants to keep me safe. It wants to keep me from showing up. And so what it tells me every single morning is, you can snooze a little bit more. It's comfortable in here. Trust me, every single day I have to force myself out of bed. But I have my nervous system and my set routine and my standard that says, you wake up, you don't hit the snooze button, you go right into workout gear, you take your pre-workout, you drink some water, and you hit play. You go do that workout. Now, I travel all the time. I'm a busy woman. I run multiple businesses. My bags are always packed. And I actually turn in my car. I literally fly and I run everywhere. I no longer drive anywhere. So I can't always get to a gym consistently. So for me, I developed a system that I can do from the privacy of my own home. And so it's a standard that I have for myself. I know that I need to move my body every single day. So I hop right into it. That's the default setting. So there's no other option. When you get your nervous system into this rhythm, and it takes a long time to get a habit created. So of course, when you start to try new things and a new system or a new, standard for your life, it's going to be challenging. You're going to have resistance. But this is where community comes in, and the accountability and the chat. Like, there's all kinds of stuff on the internet, and you can go into La La Land and Never Never Land, into all the ways that you can get fitter and faster, and all the quick diet pills and the cleanses and the quick fixes, and then the quick workouts that you can do. It might work for a little bit, but is it sustainable? So I've developed a system, and if you click the link above, the Cruise Beyond Limits Virtual HIIT Camp, this is the system that you can take wherever you're at in the world. It's a non-negotiable, it's a standard, it comes with you no matter what. It's a no matter what mentality. This is part of putting your oxygen mask on first. Giving yourself the gift of health and moving your body and focusing on the non-negotiables that you have for movement, nutrition, hydration, and accountability and support and community. So with that, I just want to recap here real quick. I know there's some comments in the chat, so thank you all. I'd love to hear your comments. I have a couple minutes, about 10 minutes before I have to close this room. But to recap, we don't freeze. We don't look back for too long, and we don't look down for too long because we might trip and fall. And when we do trip and fall, when life gets thrown at us or the carpet gets ripped from under us, we have to be able to get back up no matter what. And how do we do that? We develop our system before we need it. We give ourselves that safety briefing every single day. And also, side note, part of my safety briefing every single day is my daily habit tracker. I track. I say, okay, here's my safety briefing. Here's what a good day is going to look like. Now it's open, so it has a little bit of room for some negotiations. All right, so I'm not so rigid where it has to be a certain way. And I'll share with you just quickly so that maybe this will help you develop your system, your safety briefing that you read every single morning and you go through your checklist. I'm in the Air Force and we use checklists, especially those people that are, as you're hearing that safety briefing of putting your oxygen mask on first, the people around the aircraft, they're checking the aircraft for safety. They're actually checking off every single morning. Does this meet the standard? Does this meet the standard? Does this meet the standard? Did I check this? Did I top this level off? Did I do this? All right. If that's not done, the airplane doesn't fly. You don't go up in the air. Okay. So this is a free habit tracker that I have. It's on my website, crystallaracruz.com/habit tracker. Certainly recommend getting this for you and do your own safety briefing every single day. This is what is going to get your nervous system into a default setting. So if you're doing these things that you know are going to fuel you forward, then you're like, okay, when life gets thrown, what's missing? What haven't I done? Why am I feeling off the rails? Why am I feeling shame and blame and guilt and overwhelm and spaghetti brain and stress and depression when it's because you've created a standard for yourself and your health, no matter what. Okay, so I'll just share with you a couple things that I put in here, and then I'd love to hear from you. So the number one is no snoozing. So I don't hit the snooze button. I do a morning workout. Notice it just says morning workout. It doesn't say how long. It doesn't say what it is. It says a morning workout. It is a part of the daily routine. So movement is medicine. Number 3, journaling and intentions. So I know that I need to do my prayers and gratitude, my journaling, set myself up for success. And then I meditate. So I have a meditation. Now, fun fact, running for me, sometimes I count that as meditation. So I can get a twofer. If I go for a run as my morning workout, I'm actually meditating during that, right? So I use that sometimes I give myself double credit. Or I do a separate guided meditation. A decluttering challenge. So your environment, cleaning up your environment can really help de-stress your whole being and your nervous system. So I clean something every single day. 3, lead generating activities for my business. So lead generating activities, that can be anything. It's open for interpretation, but I'm giving myself a goal of at least 3. I do much more than that every single day, but at a minimum, I have 3. That's going to make me feel good at the end of the day. And I can't wait to check it off once I do the first 3. The next one is reading for 10 minutes. I know that in order for me to learn and grow and level up, I need to be able to read. So I read an article. It could be an audiobook. It could be a podcast. Oh, by the way, it can be an audiobook while I'm running. So that's a 3-fer. Holy moly. And then I have a present moment with my husband, really taking inventory of the relationships that I have with my life, because life gets busy and it can get chaotic and we can neglect some things. So I make sure that I have a present moment. And then my goal is to be in bed by 10. So that's my standard, right? So this is my default. Now, nutrition and hydration aren't on here because I've already implemented that into my nervous system. So that's already a default for me. But I use the things I put on here, the things that I want to work on, so that I can track my progress and give myself credit, because progress over time and that consistency over time builds that mental muscle. It builds the motivation. The motivation just doesn't appear, right? So we have to build it like a muscle, like we do our biceps, right? We have to keep doing it. And so over time we get more confident in it, that we know the system. We're putting our oxygen mask on first, and it matters. Like your life depends on it, because it does. So with that, I want to land my plane here. I hope this message landed with you, or hopefully ignited you in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it was triggering for you. Maybe I said some things that kind of pierced your heart. If that is the case, let's have a conversation. All right. Because typically this is where we need to really do some work and see where, how I can support you, how our community can support you. And maybe there's some things missing. And so we're not meant to do this life alone. And so it's a journey, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. There's no easy button. But if you show up each and every day, this progress will beat your frozen perfectionism, having to have it all together. You just keep showing up, just little bits at a time, no matter what. All right. With that, I'd love to hear from anyone here on Clubhouse. I'm going to check in with the comments. If you have questions, if you're in the audience, you want to raise your hand. We just have a couple minutes before we close this segment. I see Health is giving me some love. Thank you so much. I see Jessica here. Hello. Louise, Jonathan, Coach here. Saluda. I hope I said that right. Thank you for being here. Tosh, thank you so much. Would anybody like to speak? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey, this is Jessica.
Hello, Jessica. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I know some final thoughts as we're closing the room, but just wanted to share gratitude for your reflections and how important it is to keep our perspective in the right place. And I'm particularly thinking about your comment that you willingly chose to turn your car back in so that you could, I don't know, like kind of basically be more efficient because you could just fly. And I'm sure there's more things to it, and it's not always a perfect, like sometimes there's inconveniences having a car versus not having a car, etc., depending on what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you willingly made that a choice points to all the incremental decisions you made to be so self-aware, because that, to a lot of people, that would be hard to do. But and I say this from you being a fully sighted person, actively making a choice for transportation. You know what I mean? So I wanted to just thank you for not just that, but I'm highlighting it because you have done a lot of work that so many people would be too terrified to give up or confront. And what you shared today, it would be so valuable for those that didn't make it to listen to the replay, because you gave some tangible insights about perspective and not looking back too long or not looking down too long. Just all of that is just so tangible, because we can actively make incremental changes to improve our circumstances immediately just because of where we put our perspective. And you are a shining example of that. So that's my, trying to do a final with closing the room, but and kind of tie everything together with what you're sharing. My gratitude.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for sharing your reflections. And yeah, so I'll talk about my car. Maybe next Monday I'll talk about that. I do Freedom Fridays too in my free community. So, and over on LinkedIn. So Freedom Fridays is freedom to be able to travel, financial freedom, freedom for a day off. And I talk a lot about, the freedom to be able to get up and go. And I think this is a really important message because I hear a lot of people asking me, like, why don't you drive? Why don't you have a car? Like, and they automatically assume that something happened, right? And no, I actually chose it. And it actually has come up. There's a lot of other things that have come up for me recently that I'd love to share that perspective. And so thank you for that nugget because that just inspired me to take some notes for next week. And fun fact,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see, let me just write that down. Okay, cool. So thank you, Jessica. Anyone else care to share before we close the room?
I just want to say, wow, Crystal, this is Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
Wow. Your message on point from business to body to business, whatever you want to call it. You got to make a choice, guys, because I like to repurpose reels that I see that are effective, and I just watched an Eddie Murphy one, and we only have 75 summers, 75 springs, 75 years. Think about that. 75. What are we going to do with today? What are we going to do with these bodies? And the things we pay for, Crystal, we value, and the things we don't pay for, we don't value very much. The things that we got for free, our minds, our bodies, our hopes, our dreams, our goals, our love of family and friends, we take for granted most of the time. And those are the things that cannot be replaced. But that house, that boat, that thing you're chasing after like the wind, once you get it, what then? But if you can come from within, you'll stop going without. And I really want to just say, I want to applaud you. I'm following you now. I just heard you, and what a powerful share. And I would encourage everybody, click on her link. If you need help, if you need a guide, go follow her, DM her. For me, I sit at my desk quite often, and she made a statement. You may not be able to run a marathon, but you can move your leg. Yeah. You can dance where you're sitting. You can flex your arms. You can choose to move. Get a stress ball. Make a decision. Make a decision. If you keep saying that losing weight is going to be hard, you're right.
Yep.
It is. If you say it'll be easier than it was, you're right. Henry Ford said that. I did. I wished I would have. If whatever you think you can, you can.
Yeah.
If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. So when it comes to dieting, make a decision, cake or health. Make a decision. You just have to love one and hate the other. But kudos to you, Crystal. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I loved that. And oh my gosh, it hit me. We only have 75 summers. I mean, I'm going to live to over 100. I know that. I want to be that one woman that's going across the marathon finish line at 100. I want to be her someday. Like, I will be her because I'm just not going to stop until because I know to not be able to walk. So I'm just going to keep going. But 75 summers, the average, right, is 75 summers. That doesn't seem like a lot when you put it in that perspective. So powerful. Jonathan, I'm definitely going to give you a follow too. Let's definitely stay connected. I'd love to hop on a call with you. I love your perspective. Thank you all so much for sharing. I have about 2 minutes before I have to close the room. Any last comments or health? I see you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Crystal Lord, for reminding us that our health is our lifelong and only and primary business. We're in the health business, whether we realize it or not. Thank you for pouring in and making sure you reminded us that some movement is better than no movement. So thank you so much for all you do, sister.
Thank you so much. I saw you give me all the praise and I saw all your emojis and everything. It was just, you light me up. Thank you so much. We're in community here with Breakfast with Champions and in the Cruise Beyond Limits Health is Wealth community. So make sure you follow, click the link above, follow everyone here on stage, connect with each other. We're not meant to do this life alone. We're all just trying to live happier and healthier and recognize that our health is our wealth. So with that, please connect with me. I'd love to, answer any questions. Let's hop on a call. Let's just see how we can get you moving forward in a positive direction. And enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow here with Breakfast with Champions. And I'm here every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Health is Wealth here in the Breakfast with Champions and over on Facebook and LinkedIn and all over the place. I'm on YouTube too. So go check it out. Let's stay connected and go make it a great day, everyone. Cheers.
Woo!